So please continue to drop your questions into the QR codes, and I'll make sure I bring it into the conversation as early as possible. With that said, right, so as you can see, we have panelists from throughout the life cycle of assets. We have developers, we have asset owners, we have contractors, and also we have a construction-focused ERP system. So interesting to learn a bit more about that. The topic of today's conversation is really, as you can see on the stage, it's talking about the organizational adoption of technology. This obviously leads to the topic of business transformation. We are known within the construction industry that we implement technologies at projects level. Now, with the growth of technologies, with the growth of understanding of a lot of organizations, we see a lot of organizations building some sort of processes and procedures and systems at a corporate level to make sure that they can embed a way of doing business through technology. With that said, I think I just want to make sure I start with Aisha. You lead business transformation within Dubai Holding. And we hear a lot of great things that's happening in terms of transformation. So I want to, first of all, hear your thoughts and your story when it comes to business transformation, especially when it comes to technology at a corporate level with organizations such as Dubai Holding.
At least I can answer this question. Because
For now, yeah.
Yeah, I was worried you will change the subject as well, not just the
I'm tempted.
question. Anyways, until, let's say, a year ago, our role was to manage a large portfolio of projects under Dubai Holding Real Estate. For those who don't know, Dubai Holding Real Estate is the owner of Dubai Properties and Emirates. But last year, we also acquired Nakhil and Maidan. So there are 4 real estate companies that you see in the market are under our umbrella. So having the classical PMO and project management office definitely doesn't work. We have to transform the business. We were, as mentioned earlier, we were doing incremental improvement and digitalization. As you know, our industry is not new industry. It's very old-fashioned industry, but that doesn't mean something bad. Actually, what brought us here is the incremental improvement through decades and histories where we reach today. I know today there is a push that because we are becoming bigger and faster, the incremental is not enough. We have to transform. That's why the department was found to transform the business. And I mean, beginning of the year, last year, I went to our group CEO and I introduced that we are digitalizing the design and construction from BIM to VDC, and we will select certain projects to be a digital twin. And he said, why not all the projects? And after the acquisition, why not the entire portfolio? So that was something big, which means if I got something else, then he wants even more. So I had to think differently and start to think, as you mentioned earlier, we need to transform not only one part of the business, but we have to have a holistic view about the life cycle of our built environment from the early inception of the design, moving through construction and asset management. So I have to get other stakeholders and different verticals aligned with me because I cannot do it. I need a full adaptation.
Absolutely. Now, I want to bring in the thought of the supply chain on this because just how Dubai Holding is doing some transformation, we see there's a lot of organizations in this region understanding we need to do a wide level, company-wide level transformation. But the supply chain, such as Innovo, as a contractor, Roger, you guys have your own transformation within the organization, right? However, you still have to serve clients, and these clients are now becoming a lot more educated. They know what they want. In many cases, they know what kind of technology they want, and sometimes it's a specific vendor. How do you react to that, and how do you deliver projects accordingly? Sometimes, even if it clashes with what you have at your own transformation.
Great question. That's a great question. So we are 2 years into our digital transformation. So internally, we're pretty set on automation across all of our business processes and digital twin and other construction technologies. We have preferred partners, let's say. But there are so many options, which is a good thing because from a commercial and a competition perspective, just in PMIS, you have the titans like Procore and Autodesk. You have Premiere. You have great startups, AI startups like Trunk Tools, Aconex, Aisite. There's so many options out there that we have dozens of projects. You'll never have the same technology as our customers. It's not going to happen. We'll have 5 or 6 different technologies for the same function externally. But these software providers are very, very clever. They know that they can't be on an island. They can't make themselves self-contained. So with open APIs, we can connect to any sort of a system that the customer prefers. And also it'll give us common data, common reporting, and other common information together. The biggest part is the change management. So it's not the technology, it's not the commercial. The change management is we have a project director who will go from one project to the next, and it's a different technology to use for collaboration each time. So for us, we see we're agnostic when it comes to system externally because we can connect to any of them with reporting and data. But we really focus on that training and change management internally to make sure our stakeholders are ready to operate in those environments.
So open API is the way forward. Okay, interesting. Amr, Osool, I'd like to look at it in a different way. So Osool, you have assets that are now quite heritage. It's 40 years old. So there's a lot of information and data and projects that you have and knowledge that Osool have created throughout. And now you're doing your transformation, especially at the delivery level, right? How do you leverage? So when you talk about transformation, are you just focusing on, okay, I just want to transform the way forward, or do you want to transform your heritage as well? And if so, how do you approach that?
So Osool is an integrated real estate company that handles, I would say, GOSI, the pension fund assets across the kingdom. So we have a mixed bag of retail assets, residential assets, office buildings, and also some residential assets in the diplomatic quarter, where you have the heritage element. And if you look back into the documentation, like it was developed 40 years ago. There was no AutoCAD, there was no technology, but you are still responsible for maintaining these assets up to today's standards to ensure your customer satisfaction. Also, you have lots of your newer assets where you have data when it comes to office buildings and retail assets like Granada Mall. Like these are well-established assets across the kingdom, and it contains lots of data. Okay, so data about the design. So you know how the asset was designed, you know how the asset has been performing over years, and you are thinking of how you are going to utilize all of this and digitize it into a digital twin and create your, let's say, data lake capturing all these information. So when you go ahead with maybe upgrading these assets or creating similar assets, you have your own data and you have your own research. So the answer to your question is both. So we look into digitizing the existing assets using technologies like laser scanning, where because we are tackling problems like there was no drawings at all, or there was hand sketches, I would say. And then you take it from there and start refining the data to be a comprehensive digital replica of these assets.
So you're digitizing your existing
The
assets,
existing-
and then
And also, when we are building new assets, we're starting digitally first.
okay, interesting. Aisha, ladies last. And I'm going to bring a question from the audience, interesting one, especially as an ERP system that you're implementing across businesses. We all see challenges, right? What is your biggest challenge when it comes to adopting
Mine
Well-
or companies?
companies when you're adopting that technology at
Yeah.
at their level? What's the biggest problem or challenge? Sorry, and how do you address it?
So, biggest problem by far is the change management. And there is this, you know, fear, internal fear that bringing in technology will, you know, let people above me know what is going wrong on a project. And so that I think is where a lot of that change management, issues stem from. And the way that we as implementers of the ARP tackle that is to first speak to the leaders of the organization and make them understand that it has to come top down. It has to be um, it has to be with the entire organization coming, like the organizers have to come in and say, this is what we're going to use, this is the tool that's going to make us more efficient. And it's okay to see the red. It's okay to see that things are falling off of where we want them to be, because if you're doing it right and you're leveraging the technology, this is going to give you the tool to pivot and rectify, as opposed to continue operating in the red blindly and then at the end of the project find out, hey, we messed up. And so if that culture is cultivated from the top down, then there's less resistance to adopting this new technology and new processes and new way of doing things.
Absolutely. Rajak, I see you nodding your heads when it comes to top-down approach. And the reason why I thought I'll bring you into this is because with Innovo, it started off from the leadership, right? They wanted to make sure it's a new name, Innovo, which in the name, it's innovative within construction. And I know from Bishoy all the way down, everyone's pushing for technologies. How has that made your life easier when it comes to its transformation? And just because a lot of people will ask, okay, my leadership don't really need transformation. They don't believe it. So I want to do it, so I can see the reason, but the leadership don't do it. Don't want to do it. But maybe I want to twist it a little bit and say, with your case, how was it easy for you, and how did you benefit by having such leadership?
First of all, I consider myself very lucky to have an innovative leader like Bishoy. So many of you know that we've been a tier one builder here for 4 decades. But we reinvented ourselves 4 years ago. The name Innovo stands for it all. So we're focused on people, technology leading instead of technology supporting. So having Bishoy pushing the envelope on AI and different technologies, willing to invest in them, has made my life so much easier because we've changed 95% of our business processes and automated them over the past 2 years. ERP, HCM, construction operations, we've been able to do all of that in 2 years because really at the leadership level, there's that buy-in. At the board level, there's that buy-in. But you really also have to attack it at the grassroots level. So those process owners, and again, I heard it in the last presentation also, the technology needs the systems need to be owned by the business stakeholders. So if you're on that journey with them, the process owners are the ones selecting and implementing with you the technology, top level and grassroots, and having the business owners on the journey with you has made it very, very easy for us. Of course, we still have issues. Change management is always an issue. Transparency of project operations, where you have a director that's been a project director for 30 years, and they're used to keeping something on the side in case for a rainy day. You don't have anything hid aside for a rainy day because the transparency of your information flowing between your systems from the operations all the way through your ERP, it's all connected and all very transparent and all real time. When you bring a digital twin in and you look at the progress according to P6, it's all connected and it's all transparent and it's all real time. So it's been exciting for us because we've been able to come a long way fast because of the leadership buy-in.
Talking about leadership, I know, Aisha, you mentioned that you had a plan. You went to the CEO, and then that has helped you as well. But I want to ask you from a different angle. I've got a few questions of people asking about frameworks, and I'm not really a big believer of frameworks. Maybe I feel like maybe they're too theoretical. To be practical, the question I'd like to ask is not really framework. Is what would be the steps that anyone should take, regardless of what organization they're in, similar to the steps that you took, in order for you to achieve the right transformation in place? What's the do's and don'ts?
Remove the frame and keep the work.
Okay.
Well, I will leverage on what my colleagues here on the panel said. Yes, and everybody, since the morning we heard about change management. And for business, it's change, but for people, it's a lot more than a change. It might be negative effect as well, or extra effort, or exposure. So if I start the classical way of change management and putting presentations and strategy, people will push back. Yes, we get buy-in from the top, but I don't tell people you have to do it because our group CEO said. They will do it superficial, and we will not cultivate the ultimate value. When we say adoption, when you adopt, you own it, right? You own something, which means you believe in it. You own it because you like it, because it adds value. Whatever sort of value, probably on the senior level is different than the lower level, but adoption have a human element brought to the business. So we were looking at the early adapters, the top, I would say, people who can adopt technology, who are good in it, who believe in it. We have many, and design team, probably 25 design managers. And we selected the one who are the early adapters. And we start to engage with them. This is where we also have a feedback. The feedback improves our way of thinking. So instead of coming with a framework, a procedure, but we kind of see the gaps that we might foresee in the future. Together, we developed the first procedure. We also selected projects at different level. One at the early stage of design, others at advanced stage of design. We started to select a project at construction. We started project at handing over. And we tested the technology in different aspects so that when we scale, we fly slowly. We fly smoothly.
Absolutely. So setting up, having the right setup in place before you even start doing the implementation. Amazing. Thank you. Aisha, the problem that we have in the construction industry, and I know you've probably been through it many times. Yes, we want to do business transformation. Absolutely. We all in it, all in for that. And we see the long-term goals and et cetera and the benefits, but we love something called low-hanging fruits. We love, okay, if I'm going to bring an ERP system, what's going to do for me tomorrow? And I mean tomorrow. How do you tackle that with with these requests from clients that you coming in, implementing an ERP system? We all know ERP systems takes a long time, especially the different modules within an ERP system. But would people want to see change immediately? How do you work with that?
That's a good question. So for us, from an ERP perspective, we're very different because we are vertical market software, meaning we've built this software for construction. So to implement it, it is much quicker of a turnaround than your typical horizontal software. And in terms of low-hanging fruit, I strongly believe that the proof is in the pudding. So what I've seen work in the past is you implement this software, you bring in the data that the team is familiar with, and then you give them the particular screens or modules that display that information, and all of a sudden they're seeing their projects on the screen in front of them, and they're able to connect the dots. And that really helps with, the immediacy that we all feel now in terms of how is this going to help me tomorrow. You're able to look at the KPIs that are important to their projects, and then they're able to, to Isa's point, you're able to see the impact that it has. So I think that there's two levels to that change management piece, similar to what he was saying, is that it has to come from the top down in terms of the overall organizational buy-in. And then the proof is in the pudding from an adopter's perspective to what you're saying of, okay, now I can see that, this decision that's been sort of handed down to me, because let's be honest, it's the people at the top who are making the decision to make the investment. Once they see those KPIs in front of them and they start to realize and understand how they can use that to make their projects more efficient and how it's going to help them in their day-to-day, that's the real secret sauce.
Interesting. I'm watching the questions and I'm getting a bit overwhelmed with the number of questions, so I should have never pointed it out too much to the people. But I really like, Amr, I've got a specific question for you, and your name is mentioned and Osool is mentioned, so get ready. And it's a money question. It's great that you want to look into your heritage information. It's great that you want to consider this and make sure that you digitize it in order for you to move forwards and know how to move in the future. But there's obviously a cost to that. How do you, and it's very difficult to show your board, especially CFOs and etc., that I'm going to spend X money on digitizing my heritage and that will give me X ROI. How do you make that convincing, and what kind of ROI are we looking at? Is it tangible or a non-tangible ROI?
Just an easy one. What is the cost of not knowing? Okay, if you don't know your assets, how you are going to manage it and how you are going to operate it, you will lose information accuracy. So as a business, you need to have the right data inputs to make the right decisions. So if you don't know how many bedrooms in your apartment, okay, if they are different, if the areas are different, how are you gonna make the right decision? Okay, you will go with assumptions. Okay, and this is where you lose more than 10x. So setting the baseline, getting the information right, get it consistent across all the assets, so you can have cross-asset information sharing, is definitely an investment that the company is pushing hard to get it done.
Interesting. So you're not just asking the operation team to digitize for the sake of the capex, you're also doing it for the sake of their opex as well. Okay, interesting.
So again, like our assets, like Digital City, for example, they have high-profile tenants like ministries and these kind of high-profile tenants, and they always come up with their own designs and fit out, and they will do it throughout their lease period. But then you will have a new tenant. So as an asset owner, you need to keep track of all the changes that's happening to your asset, so you can assess how it's impacting your landlord areas. Do you need to do, let's say, an asset-wide maintenance? Do you need to do any proactive maintenance rather than being reactive? And also, you will be able to support your leasing team with, let's say, digital twin when they are interacting with new customers. So you actually bring the new customers into the digital world, and then you start seeing how their designs or how their works will fit in your asset.
Amazing. Aisa, if it's not, Dubai Holdings been operating very, very, very successfully for many years. If it's not broken, why fix it? Why bring in transformation now when Dubai Holding has already been successful for many, many years?
Well, we have
Survive.
as a developer, we think we are a responsible developer. So we are not just a private company. We are a somehow state-owned company. So we bring with us responsibility. One of the biggest value when it comes to digital twin is sustainability throughout life cycle. So you design more efficiently, you reduce the waste and error, and the embedded carbon as well. By the time the asset is built, those assets that are old-fashioned asset managed is not like a digital twin asset, of course, because you have data, day-to-day data about the asset. You know you need this much cooling in that area per hour. For example, today, we're not only just adapting digital twin as a philosophy, but we're going to energy management aspect heavily, aggressively. So in one of our hotel, there is no a digital twin, but I don't need that just because it was not built 20 years ago as a digital twin, but I want at least to embed those sensors everywhere. So we came up with a sub-metering strategy and sensors to understand if there are leakages here and there in a swimming pool, because that's a challenge every asset that is aging would have, whether you do it the best state of the art or not, but there will be, with time, those issues are coming. So we had to embed those technology devices, IoTs, sensors, sub-meter, digital meter, and more advanced. We also added weather stations to see that at what temperature the water is expected to heat or cool with time. So we offset extra energy needed for that. That we do it as a responsible, but also it brings with it a benefit to us. Yes, the fact that for 10, 20 years was good, doesn't mean that it will still go in the same fashion. Of course, it will bring with it some issues in the future. So we're not fixing it now, we're fixing the probability of future downside.
Absolutely. Roger, there's been mentioning of data and there's been mentioning of digital twin plenty of times. And tell us a little bit more of an example of digital twin, as you mentioned, and how does digital twin benefit? Well, first of all, how would it be implemented at a corporate level? Is it not a project level, or is there something as a digital twin for a corporate level? And if so, how does that look like?
So I'll try not to give away too much of what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. So tomorrow morning I'll talk about construction twin and operational twin, the life cycle of data flowing through the cycle. But from a sustainability perspective, it's almost a must do to do a construction twin. So whether it's a computer vision, reality capture, or a full digital twin of all the assets and the 3D drawing, you're lowering carbon footprints, up to 12-14% during the build itself by eliminating rework, and then you're also shortening the life cycle. And as many of you know, the GC, I probably have the lowest margin at this on this panel because we're in single digits as far as margin goes. So any sort of help that we can get, to lower optimize the timelines, to lower the rework that's being done, it's going to lower the cost of the build actually too, and then that data that goes to the operational twin that the rest of my panelists have talked about. So it's being customer driven a lot now too, and what does help is a lot of our customers are paying for it, or they're helping us pay for it, let's say. So before they would say at GC, we want more efficiency, we want better carbon footprint reduction, then do that within your 5% margin. It's very difficult. So you wouldn't do that to us for sure. But now we're seeing co-investment in digital twin and other technologies from the developer, from the builder, from the operator, owner, from the planner, capital planning, all the way across the life cycle. So, and we also, as part of our transformation with that low margin, we've created a technology company called Innovo Tech. This allows us to invest in things like digital twin by the revenue that we bring in and not hurt that bottom line that we have from a construction margin perspective. So the data is essential to improve your data, improve your structure at each step of the life cycle, and construction is a big part of that to make sure that you're continuing to improve, lower costs, make it more sustainable.
Absolutely. Aisha, obviously you're a technology company that is worldwide, right?
Yes.
You implement ERP systems for clients globally.
Yes.
We all say people are centered to any change, and people in this region are different people in the US, so, and any other place in the world. Our cultures are different. The way we do things is different. The way we operate, the way we deliver is different. How do you capture these differences when it comes to digital implementation?
So I think there's just a perceived difference, but at the end of the day, it's very similar. The challenges are very similar. Yes, there are cultural differences. There are different ways that we do business here versus North America. But at the core of it, at the core of construction, it is very similar. And earlier or late last year, actually, we had a client from North America come to Big Five and speak to a lot of the contractors here. And given the beautiful buildings that we see in the region and all of the amazing projects, he thought for sure there was going to be a secret sauce here and they're doing things really different. And at the end of the day, he was like, oh, it's just like us. They do exactly the same. And so the challenges, what I find, are the same. The struggle with coming off of Excel and standardizing data is the same. And And so there are some cultural nuances for sure, but we combat that by learning about the region and learning about the cultures and making sure that we're operating in a way that fits all of the different regions we operate in.
Interesting. Amr, what comes first? Process, procedure, or tech?
This is a tough one. That's why I'm asking. Yeah. So again, it starts with processes.
Okay.
So you will need to understand how your business work, how each team work together, and try to integrate the processes and avoid building siloed processes, because this is what like lots of us fell in this trap, that every team create their own efficiency silo and they don't share the same knowledge or the same let's say thinking. And this is not happening within organizations, it's happening within the industry itself. So the construction is way behind other industries. So once you have the processes, then you can, and you have the data, of course, you can start moving away from lengthy processes using AI and have it user-friendly or human-friendly processes that he need to go through few steps with AI assistance to get the job done, and focus more on the real work, not only the paperwork. So processes comes first, and then it is supported by technology, as we mentioned, AI and other tools, of course. And then procedures is documenting the outcome of these two.
Okay, so you heard it from Amr. Process first, and if that doesn't work, you know who to come to. We've got 2 minutes left, and with that, I'd like to end it with one last question. But that last question is, I'll only ask for one word answer. I'll start with you this time.
Okay.
Okay, ladies first this time. I am a gentleman. If I would ask you in one word, what would you think the one thing, technology or non-technology, the one thing that would help any organization that wants to start doing transformation tomorrow? What would be the one thing that needs to do first?
I would say it's 2 words, I'm sorry. Innovative thinking.
Okay. You can have a dash between them and that makes it one word. Amr.
Again, another 2 words: transparency and trust.
Okay. 2 words. 2 words.
Too hard with one.
I think we have to understand ourselves first.
Okay. Self-understanding. Okay. And Roger?
Data literacy.
We'll have another panel on data literacy. With that said, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing your questions. Aisha, Amt, Eisa, and Roger, thank you very much for your time and for your contribution. That's been very valuable. Thank you.
Good job.